Hey guys, hope you're well. So as promised, today I'm going to be doing a video covering the frequently asked questions that I tend to get from my clients. I've got them on this paper here, not too much of a long list. Obviously I do get many questions, but these are the questions that I tend to get quite a lot. Obviously over the past couple of weeks and recent days, I've been asking you guys to submit your questions, and these we're going to add in addition to the ones that I tend to get from my clients during the session as well. I've come up with a list here, and I think there's just over 10 questions. I think I've got about 12, which I'm going to go through with you today. I'll probably repeat this at the end, but if there's anything that I haven't mentioned here that you'd like to know, any sort of things that are really important that I haven't covered, and are really integral in terms of you sort of wanting to know before you make a decision to go ahead with the micropigmentation treatment, feel free to drop a question down below. I check my YouTube regularly, obviously. I get notifications anyway if anyone comments on a video, so I will have those questions and I'll do my best to sort of reply to your question. If I do get any questions that seem to pop up quite a lot, that may require me to do another video, and obviously I will do that. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So this is in no particular order. I'm just going to go through as I've noted them down, the ones that people have been asking me, as I said, and the questions that I tend to get quite a lot from my clients. So the first question on my sheet here is, how long does the procedure take? Right, it does vary. It varies obviously depending on head size, depending on sort of complexity of the job. It also varies. Little things can actually play a little factor as well as to how well someone copes during the treatment as well. That may extend the time or lessen the time slightly. In order to answer this question, I'm going to give you pretty much an average. The average session for an average client is around 2.5 to 3 hours long. There are the odd occasion, obviously, even for the average client, where it may take slightly less. And there are obviously situations where it takes slightly longer. Much less sessions are where you're literally only maybe doing like a scar or filling in like maybe a patch or something somewhere. Those sessions probably will take you like 45 minutes to an hour. There may even be clients that have been treated before, may need slight alterations. Again, those only may take half an hour, 45 minutes. When you start looking at more than 2.5, 3 hours, so when you like go into 4 or 5 hours, stuff like that, you're probably looking at people that have either alopecia, so you're having to do their entire head. You're going to be looking at situations like where someone's had more than one hair transplant, and you've got lots of scars to fill in, maybe very difficult skin, and as I said, situations where you've got people that are really experiencing like a little bit of a discomfort and might just need a few more extra breaks than the average person. But on average, as I said, it's approximately 2.5 to 3 hours. I tend to take lots of breaks during my sessions anyway, and I always say to my clients, if you need a break during the session, don't be afraid to sort of, I say, put your hand up, but stop me and let me know. I always stop. I won't sort of just continue just like that. If it's anything over like 3 hours, and maybe a 4 or 5 hour session, I'm more than likely to maybe say, right, you're probably going to be my only client that day, and we'll pace ourselves. So we'll take 2 sort of like 15-minute breaks, and we might take like a proper lunch as well. So that's the sort of thing that I'll do on that one. Right, next question is, how long does the treatment last? Now again, this is quite subjective to the client. Now you've got to factor in with this one is that the treatment has only been out for so long. I think the very first person that was treated with micropigmentation was back in 2002. So if we work out 2002 to now, which is 2018, what we're talking 16 years. So no one's really had the treatment longer than 16 years. So I always say the treatment's never going to disappear completely. Essentially, it is a tattoo. It may fade, and I think there's another question about fading and touch-ups here. It may fade, but it's never going to disappear completely. So how long does it last? It pretty much is going to last you for some time. And I'd go so far as to say, once you've had like your initial 2 or 3 sessions, which is what most people have on average, you're looking at a good 4, 5, 6 years before you even need to touch it up anyway. But like I said, it's very subjective. It also depends on how you take care of it. So if you're a person that doesn't protect it in the sun, you don't follow like your initial aftercare and that sort of stuff, then that time period can obviously decrease dramatically. But it's one that I can't really give a specific answer to. Like I said, it's very subjective, very individual. There are other factors that may play a part as well that actually happen during the session: difficult skin, bleeding, that sort of thing, which we tend to sort of like counteract and work against as the sessions go on. But I'd say on average, maybe answering that question, you're probably looking at around 3 to 5 years before you need a touch-up. That's if you're not trying to go too crazy with it. But I can never give a specific answer as to it's going to last you 20 years or it's going to last you 30 years. No one knows. I don't think it's going to disappear completely, but I can't really predict that because it just hasn't been out for that length of time. Okay, so what are the different hairline types I can go for? Now, to answer this question, I have to be a little bit careful because it's easy for me to use technical jargon to describe the types of hairlines that I can offer to you as a client, but I may say a particular word and the way you understand it, you as a person watching the video, may be very different. So if I use the word soft, like a soft hairline to me and a soft hairline to yourself might be quite different. I'd rather answer that question to say, look, my approach with hairlines is to create the most natural thing as possible, something that suits you, your age, your skin type, the way your hair is, etc. Obviously we can deviate from that. I tend to be quite conservative on the first session that I do with you. So for example, I'm probably going to start with the hairline slightly higher than I think it would be. Side profiles may or may not be done at all. If they are done, they may be slightly behind, because I want you to get used to something, and if you want to make those changes after you've got used to it, there's enough room to do it. To answer the question directly, look, hairline types that they have: soft hairlines, feathered hairlines, natural hairlines, defined hairlines. When we talk about defined hairlines, basically we're talking like if you're a black or Asian guy, typically, you know, when you go to the barber and you get that sort of like shape up kind of look or line up, that's a defined hairline. That's what we talk about, where it's quite sort of like here to here to here sort of thing. My head particularly, if you look sort of closely, it has a bit of shape to it, but it's not razor sharp. So with my head, it's more of like a soft defined sort of look, so the definition is there, but it's not in your face. The other thing that can make or break a hairline is the actual color of the treatment that you use. So I could do a defined hairline with a dark color and do a defined hairline with a light color, and it would look completely different. So that's what I'd say about that one. Any of these sort of answers that I give, if you want me to elaborate a little bit more, or if there's anything that I've mentioned that doesn't make any sense to you or you're not sure about, just let me know, okay? What's the initial aftercare that I have to follow? This one's pretty straightforward. Once you've had your session done, whether that's session 1, 2 or 3, in the immediate days after, and we're talking like 3 to 4 days after, don't do anything with it. Literally just leave it alone, okay? You don't want to put any creams on it, any lotions. It's not like these sort of tattoos where you put your nappy rash cream, or a lot of people know it as Bepanthen, which is an actual branded nappy rash cream, which is really good for healing. We don't use that on the head. No Vaseline, no nothing at all. Literally just leave it alone, okay? Leave it for 3 to 4 days. When you go into the shower, try not to get it wet. Don't soak it under the shower. Put a shower cap on if that helps. If you go out in the hot sun, like how the weather is really nice right now in the UK, yeah, just protect it. Once that 3 to 4 days pass, you do have to wash it at that point, and I say wash it well, and maybe use a little bit of shampoo. Okay, use something like simple shampoo or baby shampoo, which are very good, not too harsh, no harsh chemicals, and that should do the trick for you. Okay, once you've washed it with that shampoo, do then start to use a moisturizer, because you're going to find that your skin is going to dry out a little bit, and the last thing you want is dry skin, because it will affect the next step / stage of the healing process. Also, if you come back in for another session after that and your skin's really dry, it's going to be difficult for me to do it, and second of all, probably really painful, because I'm going to be applying a lot more pressure just to actually get the ink into your scalp. Okay, so yeah, one moisturizer that I'd recommend that you use after you've washed it with your shampoo and stuff is aloe vera gel. If you are in the UK watching this video, you probably have heard of Holland & Barrett. You'd have a Holland & Barrett near to you, I'm sure, and they sell like in a tube probably about this big. It's like a green tube. Aloe vera gel doesn't cost too much. A lot of the times Holland & Barrett have got offers on anyway, and that's really good. I recommend that one, because that doesn't only just moisturize the surface layer, but it actually gets into the scalp, and it's really good. I've had nothing but good reviews with that one. Don't need to get anything fancy. That's perfect for that reason. Okay, right. Does it hurt? For me, it does. I didn't enjoy it at all, but I think I have an extra sensitive head. It's 50-50. It's not a pain that I say is unbearable. It's not a pain that you're going to scream out for. However, it's not necessarily pleasant. Okay, mild discomfort is a word that I'd use for that one. If you sort of imagine yourself being sort of pricked with a safety pin, just constantly, that's pretty much like what it is. Now, it's one of those ones where if you're in the chair and it's happening to you and you know why it's happening, you're probably going to be okay with it. However, if you didn't know what was going on and it just suddenly happens, obviously you'd be like, get off, what is this? This hurts. So it's on a scale from 1 to 10, most clients will fall at about a 6 or a 7. Maybe, yeah, I'd say a 6 or a 7, because I'd rather you prepare yourself for the mild discomfort, and then when you actually get it done, it's not as bad, rather than you get it done and you know it's bad and you weren't expecting it. So I prefer that you prepare yourself for that. Don't get me wrong, there are some people that will literally sit in the chair and they will not feel a thing. Fair play to them, everyone's different, as I said, but I'd say sort of expect it to be a little bit, you know, uncomfortable. Once you prepare yourself for that, that's fine. You're more than welcome to sort of use painkillers, whether that's before a session or in subsequent sessions once you know what to expect. I'd probably say on a first session, don't use it. Sort of gauge where you're at, because you may use it in the first session, and then it's okay, and then you think, oh, okay, it's not that bad, I don't need painkillers. Not use it for the second one and then realize it was the painkillers that were helping you, rather it be the other way around. But yeah, it's nothing too crazy. In all the time that I've been working here, not me personally, when I say working here, sorry, working in the industry, personally, I've only heard of one person who couldn't take the pain at all and had to leave the session and then come back another day. Just that person. I've had people sort of towards the end, they're like, well, I've had enough now, but then we kind of stop. But breaks do help, and if you're well hydrated, you prepare well, you're well rested, and you have a good meal before you come, all of that helps as well. Trust me, it does help. Some people say, can I drink before? Definitely don't recommend drinking. You might think it's going to help, but it's going to make it twice as worse. And the other thing with that, especially if you drink alcohol, it's going to thin your blood, and that is a big no-no for the session. That's not good for you. Okay, right, next question. What's the youngest and eldest client that you've had? Okay, so the youngest I've had is 16, and the eldest that I've had was quite recently, that was 71. The 16-year-old it was a boy from Germany actually that had alopecia. He came over with his mum. This was, I'd say, about 2014, so about 4 years ago. Really tall lad, strapping lad. He looked a little bit older. He had that sort of military, sort of militant kind of look, but really nice guy. Yeah, and he lost his hair, completely lost his hair, his eyebrows, eyelashes, everything. And I think they tried steroid treatment with him and it just wasn't working, so he decided this was what he wanted. We did about 5 initial sessions on him, and then I remember he came back a year later for another session, and then maybe a slight touch up some other time. I only heard, but I wasn't around at the time. I'd gone on like some traveling and stuff, so I wasn't there for like that 7th session. But yeah, we got there in the end, which it was really good. It was really good. He was really happy, and obviously his mum was over the moon. She was really nice as well about it. I remember she bought me some German sweets on one of the sessions, which was quite nice. The eldest client I've had is a 71-year-old gentleman. Seems to be a military theme here because he was actually in the army when he was younger, British Army actually. But he didn't look 71, interestingly. Very fit guy. You know, had lots of energy and stuff, and literally was just normal male pattern baldness, a little bit of grey in this area, so the colour that we went for was quite light. Really nice guy. He ended up recommending his brother, who also got the treatment done as well. So yeah, that's the eldest that I've had. The youngest that I've known to be treated by scalp micropigmentation, now it could be younger than this, but the youngest that I've personally known is 14, and the eldest that I've known beats me by 1, which is 72. So yeah, that just goes to show that this treatment can work for all ages. It doesn't only work for guys. I have done a fair few women as well. So yeah, it's, you know, the average client that I get in terms of their age is around sort of late 20s, early 30s. That's my average in terms of ages for clients. How often do I need to cut my hair? A lot of these questions are very, very sort of subjective. There's no specific answer with this one as well. Again, I'll have to work out 2 sort of averages. Most guys will cut their hair probably 2 to 3 times a week. There are some circumstances where you'd be expected to cut your hair more often, so pretty much every day, and there is the odd occasion where someone might be able to get away with sort of like once a week. I think the less hair you have to work with in the beginning, the more often you have to cut your hair. Yeah, I'd say that. Also, it really depends on where you're experiencing your hair loss, because what you can have sometimes is, if your hair loss is predominantly around the sides and the back and you have your SMP on the top, you've got to remember the treatment sits flat on the surface of your scalp, okay? You have hair coming through like this, which creates a sort of like a 2D to 3D sort of contrast. So you want to keep the treatment sort of shaved down so that it can eliminate that sort of contrast, okay? So that's why I say it really depends where your hair is, but if you're in that scenario, then you want to keep your hair trimmed down, and you're going to want to keep it often. A lot of people, I say to them, look, you're probably going to have to test it to see what will and won't work for you. You know, you're going to get to a point where you're probably going to cut your hair on a Monday, and then you're going to realize by a Wednesday I need to cut it again. And that's, you know, that's something that you'll get used to. So you'll probably cut your hair every Monday and Wednesday, but over time you'll develop that pattern, okay? So yeah, that's it with that one. I'm on medication. Is there any restrictions? So a lot of people talk about medication. Can I get the treatment done if I'm on medication? Pretty much, it really depends what you're on and what it's for. If you're on any medication, for something that I think might be a risk to the treatment or at risk to you being in that chair during treatment, I will mention it to you, and I'd probably say to you, speak to your GP and sort of get clearance from your GP. Basically just explain to them what you're about to do, what you'd like to do, what you're expecting to do, and you know, they'll be able to sort of like confirm whether that's okay to sort of go ahead. In terms of medication, the only ones that I'm very particular about are blood thinners or anything that has blood thinning as a sort of side effect of using that medication, if that makes sense. The reason for this is because if your blood is thin, you tend to bleed a little bit more during the session, and what will happen with that is it will tend to sort of push the ink back out, and in that way it tries to push the ink back out, and that will cause a little bit of fading. It's not a big issue. If I'm going to experience it with yourself, I'm probably going to experience it on the first session, which then means after I've done that session, I'm probably going to say to you, look, expect a little bit of fading. It may fade in some patches more than others, and all we've got to do to compensate that on a second session is to go a little bit darker. So if it's going to fade from a dark color, it's going to fade down to where we want it to be. That's the main thing with that. But with medication, I'd say just use a bit of common sense with it. And if you're worried particularly before I'm worried, then it might just make sense to just speak to your GP before you even come and see me. But if you're not sure, just ask the question. I'd rather you disclose it and ask me, and I can give you an answer based on my experience. If I'm not sure, I'll try and do some research, and if there's any worries or I can't get an answer for you, I'll just refer you back to your GP just for clearance. My safety and your safety's sake. Will people know I've had it done? Good question. Now, I'm going to answer this in two parts. Possibly, yes, and possibly not. Now, will people know that you've had it done? Yes, if you tell them. Will people know that you've had something done? Potentially, yes, if it's not been done correctly or been done well. Normally the giveaways with this treatment is if you've gone for the wrong colour. When I say if you've gone for the wrong colour, if the technician that's done your treatment has not done the right colour, and in most cases we're talking about something being too dark as opposed to too light, and if the hairline is being sort of, if the hairline's been done wrong, or the shape, it might be done right but the shape just doesn't suit your face or your facial features or your head shape or whatever, that can be a giveaway. Okay. The other scenario where people might know where the treatment's perfect, there's nothing wrong with it, is if you've got, let's say you're at work or you've got really close friends or something very similar, you're at work and you've got people that know you and they're going bald as well, you'll tend to find that they will always remember the other people, or they will know everyone else that's probably bald, because you tend to compare yourself with others. So if you suddenly pop up to work or suddenly pop up a family reunion or something with a full head of hair, they're probably going to realize, if it's not that, they're probably going to say something's changed, and they're going to try to sort of figure out what it is. That kind of ties in with the next one, which is where if you've been bald for a long time, so we're talking like, for some clients I've known them be bald for 15, 20 years, and you suddenly go from a bald head to like this, I say shaven look, but a full head of hair, essentially, not growing hair, but like a buzz cut look, people are going to realize something's changed, and they'll probably realize really quickly what it is. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something you need to be conscious of. And it doesn't, as I said, not a bad thing, doesn't mean that treatment's being done wrong. It just means that people around you know what you were like before, and have obviously noticed a difference. I do get some clients that say to me, you know, people said to them, oh, something's changed, something looks different, but I can't work out what it is. That's a very, very common one. On the other side of the spectrum, we're talking about will people know I've had it done? And when I say no, some people won't notice a thing, and that's almost like a compliment in itself, that the treatment's been done and it looks really natural. So if the hairline's been done really well, you know, your dot size, everything settled down really well, the color that's been used suits you, the hairline that's been chosen suits you, that sort of thing, then people are probably not going to know unless you go out of your way to tell them, and say, look, I've had this done, have a close look, this is it. Don't be surprised if people realize at that point that you've you know, then they realize something's been done. But other than that, people probably won't be able to tell, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Are there any after effects? Yeah, but very minimal. Some people experience a little bit of redness, which tends to go down within a day or two. There are some people that feel hungry, a bit lightheaded, maybe because they haven't eaten before or during the session. Some people just feel generally tired, a little bit worn out, because, you know, they've been sat down for 3 hours in a chair. What else have I had in terms of after effects? Just normal dryness if someone hasn't moisturized. There is one thing that's very, very rare but can happen in terms of after effects, and that's where your immune system obviously kicks in, because your body's been attacked per se, and your lymph glands, lymph nodes tend to swell up. As far as I'm aware, they're located behind your ears, somewhere around here under the neck, and then in the armpits. So if you notice those areas start to swell and you notice a hard lump and it's a little bit painful and you've just had treatment, that's your immune system response. It's nothing to be worried about. On the odd occasion I've had like it lasts for some people maybe 2 or 3 days. If it gets worse, I'd say just go to your GP and they'll probably give you some antibiotics, and that will solve it. I've never had anyone where it's got worse and just continued to got worse and got unbearable. You may just notice you feel a little bit sort of like feverish for a day, your glands swell up, and then like a day or two, and then they come back down. But you know, I say you'd always have my phone number, you'd have my contact details if something like that happened anyway. I've had it a couple of times and I know exactly what it is, so I'd know what to tell you what to do. But it's not life-threatening, it's nothing like that. More than anything, it's a sign that you're healthy and your body's doing what it's supposed to do. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, to be honest. Okay. Will I need any touch-ups in the future? So this kind of goes back to the first question where we were talking about how long does it last. Will I need any touch-ups? Probably yes. There are a few clients that I have treated back in the early days. They had like 2 or 3 sessions. I've never seen them again. There's some I do see and they've never needed a touch-up. The colour's held with them. I'd say on average, within the first sort of like 2-3 years, you're probably going to need 1 touch-up, and within a 5-year period, probably need 2 touch-ups. But like I said, there are some people who don't really need anything. Once you've got to that sort of like 2nd and 3rd session, I understand your skin a lot better, and at that point I tend to get to a colour that I think is definitely going to work for you. So once I've got a colour that works on your skin, unless you're not following the aftercare or looking after it, it's pretty much going to stick. You've also got the other end of the scale where someone's going to need quite a lot of touch-ups. Now, those scenarios kind of fall back to the treatments where we're talking a lot of sessions initially, and you're dealing with very difficult skin. So people that tend to need a lot more touch-ups, alopecia clients, people that have scars, because scar skin, when it heals, it doesn't heal the same and it takes the pigment differently. When you're dealing with people that have worn hair systems and they've like had glues and had their sort of systems sewn on into their existing hair and their skin's really damaged, people that have gone through burns or accidents, that sort of thing, dandruff, yeah, really bad skin. So yeah, different skin conditions and stuff, but you can sort of predict early on whether someone's going to be that sort of client. So you probably be warning that person, look, you're probably going to need a couple extra sessions initially, and I might need to see you in a touch-up for like 6 months or in a year's time. So to answer that question, will I need touch-ups? More than likely, but it doesn't need to be crazy. At the end of the day, there's only so much dots you can put on the head before you get to a point where you can't put any more dots, and all you've got on the head is just ink, and you can't see the skin underneath, and then that's when you're in dangerous territory, because then it will start to look fake at that point. Like, no one has just pure hair on their head without seeing their scalp, unless their hair is growing, and that's not what we're recreating. So you know, it's like that. We're almost at the end now. Got 2 more questions. Scheduling of my session. So we're talking about here, how far apart are the sessions? How does it work? So ideally, your first 2 sessions are going to be a week or 2 apart. You want to leave it some time, obviously, for it to settle down, but you don't want to leave it too long to the point where you can't judge properly what's happened within a certain time period. So let's say you have a session today's Saturday. I'd ideally see you the following Saturday or in a fortnight. That's fine for me. The longest I'd probably want to wait between a first and a second session, or well, at least the first 2, is going to be 3 weeks, and even that is pushing it. We tend to leave like a week or 2 in between the first and second session. Once you've had 2 sessions, the third one could wait about a month, unless it's been really, really good, and I can say to you, do you know what, you can go away for about 3 months before I get a third one. The shortest time period we can have in between a session, I'm going to say, is about 5-6 days, so just short of a week. I wouldn't want to do a session before that, literally, because if you remember when I spoke about how to take care of it, you remember you're washing your hair on the 4th day, the 3rd or the 4th day. So if I try to do a second session even before that's happened, that's just not going to work. So at least want your head to be washed, settled down, moisturized for at least a day or 2 before I see you again. But if we can leave it for about a week, it's better. Like I said, there are going to be some scenarios where I have to do sessions within that short period of time. Sometimes I have clients that travel in, and they only have maybe 2 weeks holiday, and I have to do 3 sessions within that time. So I have had that scenario, but again, I'd probably do it like day 1, day 6, day 11 or something, or day 1, day 7, day 14, day 13, sorry, before they fly out, that sort of thing. So you kind of I'd work around you, but the more flexible you are, the better it is for me. And that's pretty much it with those sessions. Once you get to like 2nd to 3rd, 3rd to 4th session, we can tend to leave it a longer time, unless I say to you differently, because of what I'm noticing with your treatment and what's happening. Like I said, I haven't really left it longer than between first and second session, 2.5 weeks. And in terms of a 2nd to a 3rd, it varies so much, because there's been people that I've done 2 sessions on, and I've said to them, do you know what, I don't even think I need to see you for a long time. You're probably going to tell me when you're ready to see me again, when you feel like it's faded, but I don't think anything's going to happen with it for some time. So I'd say that. And the last question is, how many sessions am I going to need? I think I've kind of covered that with some of the other stuff I've spoken about. On average, like I said, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 sessions. You need a minimum of 2. I'd say to you, anyone that says they can do it within 1 session, be very, very careful. It's virtually impossible to do that. For me, the first session is a tester. I'm laying a foundation down. I'm getting used to your skin. I'm using a color that's fairly conservative. Again, we're playing around with hairlines. I'm trying to get something on you so you can get used to something, and then we can build on that and perfect that on the 2nd and the 3rd session. There are some people that know exactly what they want on the first one, and we can kind of work with that, still erring on the side of being cautious and erring on the side of safety. But yeah, with that, at least 2 sessions. Most clients I will quote say, look, you're going to need 3. I'll see you today, I'll see you in 2 weeks time, and then after the second one I see you in about a month or 2. If you've got a very difficult situation coming in, like I said, scars, accidents, alopecia, very dry skin, or whatever the condition might be, I may say to you from the very beginning, from the get-go, look, you're going to need about 4 or 5 sessions. As far as I can, I will try to predict my best to give you some sort of idea of how long I think it's going to take for you to get to a point where your treatment looks, you know, where it's complete and it's settled and you can actually go out there and show it off. There are times I'm going to get it wrong, because there are going to be factors that sort of present themselves that I have not sort of catered for and not expecting. Neither I'm expecting it nor yourself. Things like immune system response, fading, bleeding, circumstances as well, finances. Now you'll notice with me, my whole pricing structure, if you know, when you come for a consultation or you contact me, however, and I sort of give you a quote for your treatment, I do it per session. I don't quote personally and say this is the amount for 4 sessions, because what you sometimes find is that you think someone's going to take 4 sessions and then end up taking 3, but yet they've paid you for 4. I don't want you to pay for what you're not going to use, okay? So what I will do is I will kind of gauge in my head how many I think it's going to take, and I'm going to say to you, just pay, this is how much you pay per session, and we'll take it as it goes. If you have 2 sessions and you're finished at 2, that's fine. You've not paid me for 3 or 4 sessions yet not used them. I don't want you to commit to that. That's how I'm slightly different when I do this. And a lot of this has come from my experience, obviously, through being doing this for 6 years. And I've noticed, obviously, sometimes I've looked at someone, they've been quoted for 4 sessions. I've said, yeah, you're probably going to need 4. I do 1 session on them, and I'm like, Jesus, this is how it's so well. This looks so fantastic. You're probably only going to need today's one, i.e. the second one, and you'll be done. Now, that person's probably paid like 1,000 or 2 extra for the other 2 sessions, but not had to use them. Don't really want to do that, okay? But yeah, going back to it, how many sessions I'm going to need, it varies, but I'll try and give you an accurate sort of prediction from day one. On average, 2 or 3 sessions, okay? So that ends the frequently asked questions. I've actually enjoyed doing this today. It's really, really nice here. My day's actually about to start. I've done this early today. The sun's out, it's not got too hot yet, so my day's actually about to start. I'm about to go in and start my work. By the time I upload this video, it may not be Saturday, but it doesn't really matter. It's the content that's important. Right, enough of that. So if you look below, you've got an opportunity to comment. If it's just general feedback that you have, I'm grateful for it. Any constructive criticism, let me know. Any questions, as I said, any suggestions, any other videos that you are thinking of that I haven't mentioned I'm going to do. In my introduction video, I kind of gave a sort of an intro into where I want to go with this channel, and the things that I want to put up. I'm trying to take a different angle. I don't just want to sit down in a professional environment with professional cameras. I want you to see the real me on my day-to-day. Okay, I'm a normal person. I don't want you to feel like you're meeting some kind of doctor or scientist who's just going to be sat over your head with a pair of glasses, a magnifying glass, and like a trench coat. No, it's none of that. I am a normal person. It's just all very relaxed, and at the end of the day, it's a big decision that you're making, and I want you to feel as comfortable as possible. Okay, so any questions that you have, drop them down. If you do have a YouTube account, subscribe. If you're looking at this just normally and you have Facebook, you have Instagram, feel free to share the video. Like the video as well, guys. I really appreciate that. Obviously, that gets the word out there. And yeah, that's it from me. This is Marcus at SMP by Marcus. Take care, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.